Have you ever noticed that some students have wonderful ideas but struggle the moment they start writing? That's because writing is more than just putting words on a page. It's a complex process of thinking, shaping, and expressing meaning. And understanding this process is the first step to teaching it effectively. So, what is writing? Writing is a physical and mental act of producing meaningful text. It is both a process generating, organizing, drafting, revising, editing, and a product, a final text suggests a paragraph, essay, or report, through which writers express and communicate their ideas to the readers. To make it clearer, writing is simply when a person thinks of ideas and turns them into sentences that others can understand. For example, a student writing about their favorite hobby first think about what they like, then arrange those ideas, writes a draft, checks for mistakes, and produce a final paragraph. This final paragraph is the product of the writing process. In short, writing is more than putting words on paper. It's a meaningful way to organize thoughts and share them with the world. So, after understanding what writing is, the question becomes, how do teachers help students learn it? Let's look at the definition of teaching writing. Teaching writing is the interactive process in which teachers guide students to develop their writing abilities as both a process and a product. It involves helping learners generate and organize ideas, draft, revise, and edit their work while learning to communicate meaning, structure thoughts, and consider the reader. In this sense, teacher writing covers the mechanical, communicative, and cultural aspects of writing. To put it simply, teaching writing is when a teacher supports students in creating a good piece of writing. In class, the teacher helps students brainstorm ideas, shows them how to organize those ideas into a paragraph, guide them through drafting, encourage them to revise unclear sentences, and helps them correct grammar or spelling. This shows that teaching writing is not just correcting mistakes, it's guiding students to think deeply, express clearly, and grow into confident writers. Ultimately, teaching writing empowers learners to communicate effectively both inside and beyond the classroom. Now that we have clarified what writing is and recognized just how complex this skill can be, the question becomes, how do we actually teach it effectively? To bridge theory and practice, we will turn to 7 principles that shape our instructions and help students become more confident, capable writers. Firstly, writing is a process, not a product. Before anything else, it is important to help students see what writing takes time. They learn best when they move through clear, manageable steps like brainstorming ideas, drafting their first version, and then revising and polishing it. When we guide them through this process, they stop worrying about producing a perfect final draft right away and instead focus on improving their work little by little. This makes writing feel less overwhelming and much more meaningful. Secondly, provide frequent and diverse writing opportunities. At the same time, students grow faster when they have regular chance to write in many different ways. Creative stories, short reflections, classroom reports, or even simple emails. All of these give them space to practice expressing themselves. The more varied their writing tasks are, the more confident and flexible they become. Over time, they develop the ability to use writing naturally in any real-world situation, not just inside the classroom.
Moving forward, we arrive at Principle 3, clearly defines the audience and purpose. Understanding who the reader is and why they are writing helps students select the appropriate style and structure. By requiring this rewriting analysis, instructor ensures students always create products that are contextually appropriate and effective for their communicative goals. In addition to defining purpose, we move to Principle 4, which focuses on feedback. We must guide students to identify and fix their own mistakes, often through correction codes instead of direct correction. The ultimate goal is to build self-monitoring and self-correction ability, enabling students to become more autonomous and responsible editors of their work. Next, we tackle Principle 5, balance, accuracy, and fluency. This requires separating tasks, dedicating time for rapid idea generation and free-flow fluency, and then having separate tasks for detailed grammatical refinement, accuracy. We cannot expect both to happen simultaneously in early draft. Principle 6 highlights the importance of publicly sharing clear assessment criteria. Transparent rubric helps students understand expectations and self-assess effectively. This transparency not only ensures fairness, but also transforms the criteria into a learning tool that supports students' self-improvement. Finally, we focus on Principle 7, motivate students through communicative writing tasks. Designing tasks with real-world purpose shows students that writing is a tool for solving practical problems. When a writing task has clear real-life application, student motivation and engagement increase significantly, leading to better learning outcome and more activity participation.
Everyone, there are many different ways to teach writing in the language classroom, and each approach offers unique benefits for learners. Today, I'm going to talk about three major approaches in the teaching writing: product approach, process approach, and the transfer approach. Let me start with the approach. This approach focuses mainly on the final written product. In other words, the most important things is what students produce it at the end, not how they get there. Students are usually given a model case, and they observe how it's organized, what kind of vocabulary and grammar are used, and how ideas are connected. The picture highlights key language features such as correct sentence structure, appropriate word choice, cohesive device, and overall paragraph organization. After that, students move through control practice activity and then produce their own piece of writing that follow the model. The teacher then evaluates the text correct errors and gives a score. The product approach is teacher-centered and focused on accuracy. It works very well for beginners or when the goal is to teach a specific structure. However, it has some limitations. It does not pay much attention to idea development or creativity, so students often depend too much on the model and may not explore their own writing style. The second method is a process approach. This is almost opposite of the product approach. Here, writing is in a process, not on a one-time task. The focus is on how learners develop their ideas step by step, and the stage usually include rewriting, drafting, revising, editing, publishing. What makes this approach special is that students are encouraged to write multiple drafts, and they receive feedback from both teacher and flatmates. This creates a supportive environment where students can think, reflect, and gradually improve their writing. The process approach student-centered and it helps learners develop confidence, fluency, and critical thinking skills. It's especially effective when we want students to express themselves more freely. On the other side, it can be time-consuming and requires strong gradual management to guide students through each stage.
When's your birthday? My birthday, September 9, 1981.
Hi teachers, welcome to this week's vlog. Today we're going to speak about genre analysis, and we're going to take you back in a sense to the June training. In just a minute we'll be taking you downstairs to Alison Beach's class. She's going to show us through her class how to do a 5-part invitation letter as part of that genre analysis.
Today in class we did a review of how to write an invitation, and we actually have this written invitation on our back wall where we're doing the best literacy skills. And so I will walk through what we did in class. At this point we're setting the context, and I elicited from them the holiday of Thanksgiving and set the context that we were going to have a Thanksgiving party at our house, and the students then discussed what they knew about Thanksgiving. So then we wrote it on the big screen together. We did a joint construction where I walked them through the different steps, the 5 different steps being the salutation and then a greeting, and then the invitation, then the details, and then finally the closure with their name. And so the students then had another opportunity to see the 5 steps as I wrote. After we had the full text on the whiteboard, we then highlighted the key steps one more time, and I asked the students to help me identifying the 5 steps and becoming familiar with it. We then broke up into pairs and had them write an invitation to an event that they have in their life. One of the students did the Chinese holiday coming up, another pair did a football party. After the students completed the task and I helped them with editing them, I chose one of them to put on the whiteboard to analyze the steps. And as you can see, he did a great job. He invited a friend to his house to watch football and included all the 5 steps.
That is genre-based approach. This approach teaches students how to write different types of text by helping them understand the purpose, structure, and language feature of exams. and essence is a type of text used for a specific communicative purpose. For example, narrative, reports, email, essay, and so on. Each genre has its own typical structure and language pattern. Teaching usually follows a teaching-learn cycle, which includes several stages: building background knowledge, modeling, joint construction, independent construction, and comparing and reflecting. The DREAM approach combines a strength of both product and process approach. It guides learners step by step while still giving them space to explore. Its main advantage is that it prepares learners for real communication. Academic writing, email, reports, and other practical tasks, but it does require careful planning and good modalities, and if overused, it may lead to formulaic writing. To summarize, the product approach is focused on the final results and emphasize accuracy. Process approach focuses on the steps of writing, promoting creativity and reflection. DREAM's approach focuses on different types of text and how they function in real communication. Each approach has its own strength and limitation, and effective teaching often involves combining them, depending on the lesson objective and the needs of the student. Thanks for listening.
The last writing skills lesson I taught was just before the Christmas holidays. The week before the lesson, students specifically asked me to have a lesson about New Year's celebrations around the world. I decided to use the topic in my writing skills lesson. At the start of the lesson, I asked the students to tell their partners about how they celebrate New Year in their country. This was a very short activity, and it really just got the students thinking about the topic of the lesson. I then regrouped the students so that they could work with the students from the same country. I had 4 groups of 3 and 4 students in each group, with one group representing South America as a continent rather than individual countries, which worked very well. In their groups, students were asked to brainstorm vocabulary related to New Year celebrations. I gave the students about 4 minutes to do that, and then we collected all the vocabulary on the board using a mind map. By then, I knew students had enough language to get them started on the first draft of their writing. I asked the students to work as a group and write individual sentences about New Year celebrations. They could now use the vocabulary on the board and their own ideas. This stage took about 10 minutes. If the students had to work individually, it would probably have taken less time to complete the task, but working collaboratively means students had to discuss and negotiate their ideas. Once done, the students exchanged their papers with another group, and the new group checked the sentences for mistakes and added suggestions. Papers swapped back again, students were now brainstorming how to connect the original sentences and organise them into coherent paragraphs in order to write a longer essay. At that stage, students were really into the activity, discussing ideas and agreeing on the content of each paragraph. Once the group had the first rough copy of the text, they swapped the completed paragraphs again, and the new group had to provide feedback on the language and the mistakes, as well as on the organisation of the text. This included suggestions for the opening and closing paragraphs. Paragraphs swapped back, the students had to rewrite the text to include the suggestions made by the other group. I was monitoring the students very closely throughout the lesson, supporting individual groups, giving suggestions, offering new vocabulary where needed, and so on. I also played some background Christmas music to get the students in the right mood. The whole lesson progressed from generating ideas and structuring the text through to drafting, editing, redrafting, and reviewing the text before the final versions were presented to the rest of the class. The collaborative nature of the lesson meant that apart from writing skills, the students had multiple opportunities to develop their speaking skills as well.
I'm going to present 10 effective writing techniques that help students improve their fluency, vocabulary, and idea development. All examples in this presentation will be connected to the topic of healthy and unhealthy lifestyle. Now, let's begin. The first technique is free-flowing writing. The purpose of this technique is to help students write fluently without worrying about grammar or spelling. It focuses mainly on idea generation and confidence building. In this activity, the teacher gives the topic and sets a timer for 5 to 10 minutes. Students must write continuously without stopping to correct mistakes. To make it more exciting, I use a game called User Paragraph Relay. When the teacher counts 1, 2, 3, the first student from each team will run to the post and add one new sentence. After writing, you must return to your line and let the next teammate continue. Remember, each person is allowed to write only one sentence each turn. You will have 5 minutes to complete the paragraph together. When the time is up, I will check both paragraphs, read them out loud, and give comment. Let's see which team can build the most logical and well-organized paragraph. The second technique is brainstorming and mind mapping. Its purpose is to activate background knowledge, explain vocabulary, and help students organize ideas before drafting. Students list everything related to the topic and then turn this idea into the mind map. Afterward, they use the mind map to write a paragraph. We also play a game called Pro and Write Race. Students work into teams. Each player pulls the plastic cup to the circle in the middle of the table. The winner runs to the port and writes the phrase of athlete to work. All players take turns until everyone has played. When the game finishes, the teacher checks and scores the phrases written by both teams. After that, the teacher invites several students to come to the port and create complete sentences using the phrases from the game. The third technique is illustrate writing. This combines visual learning with writing, which is helpful for low-level learners. Students draw 3 or 4 simple pictures. For example, drinking water, eating vegetable, eating fast food, sleeping late, and they write on sentence for each picture. The fourth technique is journal writing. This encourages personal reflection and builds a habit of writing regularly. Students write a short entry of 5 to 10 sentences. They may share with classmates or submit to the teacher. The fifth technique is group story, train story. It promotes cooperation and creativity as students work together to develop a story. I give one step starting sentence like, I decided to train my unhealthy lifestyle yesterday. As students add one sentence to continue the story. We can also use picture sequences such as water, salad, sofa, trim, fruits to create a fun story. The sixth technique is peer editing. Improve student ability to identify errors and strengthen editing skill. Students exchange paper and use a checklist. They correct mistakes and give comments. Each group will receive one sheet of paper. You have 5 minutes to discuss and write a short paragraph about healthy and unhealthy lifestyle. After 5 minutes, you will swap your paragraph with another group. Your task is to read the new paragraph carefully and evaluate it using 4 criteria. The seventh technique is story planning. Help students understanding story structure before writing. Support logical and organized writing. The teacher gives a planning sheet with simple questions. Who is the main character? When does the story happen? What is the problem? How is the problem solved? Students fill in the detail, then write a full story. Now we will play a game called Secret Student Spotlight. I will give each of you one sheet of paper with a writing prompt. Please do not write your name on the paper. You have 3 minutes to write your idea. When finished, fold your paper and put it into the post. The teacher invites several students to come and pick a random slip. The ninth technique is writing prompt. The teacher provides meaningful paper aloud and read one comment on the writing to respond. If anyone else wants to add a comment, please raise your hand. Or short situation. Student write 3 to 5 sentences based on the plot. All of you will read the paper aloud and give one comment on the writing. If anyone else wants to add a comment, please raise your hands. This activity helps us share ideas, give feedback, and learn from each other writing. The final technique is organize and tablet. Support weaker learner and have students build a clear structure before writing paragraph. The teacher provides an outline or graphic organized. Students fill it in and use the note to write a paragraph. This 10 technique gives students engaging and effective way to develop their writing skill. Thank you for watching my presentation.